hesitation. But girl, there always gonna make certain occasions. Though I'm dressed in these rags, I will sail someday. Hear what I say. I'm gonna ride this curve. No more time spent sweating rent. Hear my command. It ain't no use. I'm breaking loose, holding me down. So girl, baby, I like and I do what I want. It's my mind and I think like I want. Show me I'm wrong, hurry so fine. Okay, I'll keep you in mind.
Well, hello, my fellow Americans and fellow Christians, and thank you for joining me for one more day of peace and freedom, and the freedom to be whoever we want to be in this country here in the United States of America. My fellow Americans and Christians, it is no secret that I've been pointing out some of the fallacies spoken and perpetrated upon the country and Christian America in our time. Most recently, I have been mentioning these are not the end times, but the beginning of sorrows in the world. As I have said, Christ so enamors this in Matthew 24. But this is not the subject today. I want to mention, though, that Christian televangelists have been misleading this country concerning prophecy for many, many years. Even more so, there has been no advancement in the Christian faith. You see the same men and women preaching in the high-def overtones, stomping and shouting, and in most cases looking like a complete loon, outbursting coattail gospel they have borrowed from others. What I am addressing here today is that there is absolutely no advancement in the Christian faith. It is the same thing that you are seeing over and over again. You see these young kids today mimicking preachers. They are not themselves. They are mimicking them. They are preaching and talking and walking exactly like those that they watch upon television, and they see the fame and celebrity and they seek after it themselves. This is what I'm after today. What I'm after is the advancement in the faith, the psychology of Christ upon the Christian and upon America. And Christ's psychology was none of what I just spoke. He was an original, demonstrating that being different can indeed be the sign of being absolutely correct and in tune with life itself. He emphasized that sanctity does not depend on where you are. It depends on what you're thinking about. This is never more evident than the true story of Don Bosco, who dedicated his life to the betterment and education of street children, juvenile delinquents, and other disadvantaged youth. Let me read you a short story about him real quick here. It is a humorous one, but you will see what I am talking about when you have a vision, when you know who you are supposed to be. As the song says, I will do what I want. This is what we need to do in this day and age and time. And this is the story about Don Bosco, and it says in the last century, Don Bosco was telling a Monsignor in the Chancery about a religious order that he hoped to found, and that he would send missionaries and establish houses for boys all over the world, which we know is true today. Particularly the foundations in the Philippines are very well known, and also in the state of California. You have the Don Bosco Technical School, which I believe is celebrating its 60th year this year. It's worldwide. But listen to this story. The Monsignor thought Don Bosco had gone mad and decided to put him into an insane asylum. Calling a cab, he asked Don Bosco to get in with him for a ride. Don Bosco knew what he was up to, So when the carriage drove up, he said that he would not dare step into a cab ahead of the Monsignor. He asked him to get in first. When he got in, he slammed the door and told the driver, who was a good friend of his, to drive the Monsignor as quickly as possible to an insane asylum because he was mad and there was not a moment to be lost. The more the Monsignor shouted and shrieked, the more the driver was convinced he was mad. He was really locked up, and it took the chaplain of the insane asylum to get him out. The psychology of Christ to the people of his time was just this: it's my life, I can do what I want. Just like Don Bosco and his story. It does not matter what you think of me, is what Christ was saying to the people, and as Bosco did to the Monsignor. What matters is what I think I should be doing with my life, not what your plans are for me. I'm going to do what I want to do. What you think of me is your problem. This was the psychology of Christ and of Don Bosco. The psychology of Christ is to set people free to be themselves. This is the reason for grace. Grace is the freedom to be oneself, free to think beyond, experiencing a life you dream about or imagine, venturing out on a road or a path you or no one else ever traveled, adventuring out with possible bumps in the road or mistakes. This is where Christ's grace comes in, when there are bumps in the road. And the psychology of grace is saying your bumps in the road are part of a life process. Grace is saying no matter what the mistakes, they are only mistakes until corrected. Grace provides the elimination of self-imposed guilt and says, onward past the ogre that is keeping you still on the road of success. Christ's psychology in the Gospels is saying, look at me. He said, I traveled an unknown road, but if I had not traveled that road, I would not have been capable of achievement. Grace and the freedom to be who you want to be with the overshadowing hand of God upon you would not even exist today if I had not taken a chance and ventured out. If I did not do what I wanted to do. This is the psychology of Christ, and he says it is open to all, anyone, anytime. Christ's psychology opens up the mind and the heart to greater heights. He is basically saying he is not only interested in us spiritually, he is also interested in our mental, physical, and emotional development and well-being. He is saying he loves the individual who is willing to take chances in life and have a zest for life, willing to see what is awaiting him. There was a joke going around that said the scribes and Pharisees and Sanhedrin gave Christ a fortune cookie. When he opened it, it said, you will never amount to anything. Like Don Bosco and like our Lord, you will have those who do not believe in you. They will try and talk you out of what you feel you must do. They have not come to the understanding that to perceive God, the Bible, and life itself the same way they do dooms man to failure. To adventure differently in life is to grow personally and create something better. This is exactly what the psychology of Christ was all about. So walk on, my fellow Christian and my fellow American. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.